In this workshop, I want to focus on best practice. It's quite possible to put together a layout using InDesign that looks completely fine, but hasn't really utilised the software to best effect. Not using the software properly will, at best, cost you way more time than is absolutely necessary, and at worst, it will make it very difficult for you to edit, and the consistency of design and the brand is basically lost or weakened, compromised, that kind of thing. Here I've actually got two near identical pages that I put together in InDesign. There's this one here and there's this one here, and as you can see they are very, very similar. But I'm going to start by showing you this second one here. The way this is constructed is possibly the most common thing that I've seen with how people tend to put a page together. If I just hover over these blocks of text, you can see that they're all in individual text boxes. Now this looks absolutely fine, and if I just switch my my grid on, my column grid, you can see it's everything's lining up perfectly well with that grid. But this way of working, where we put different pieces of text in individual text boxes, makes it really difficult to edit the page or change our layout easily. So best practice would dictate really that this is how we work. And if you have a look at this, you can see all this text here is in a single text box. The difficulty people have with this is they don't know how to get pieces of text to ignore the columns within a frame. Now you can see this. I'm just going to switch my my grid off again, my guides off, and you can see that I've got two columns of text inside this frame, but this heading and this little first para here are ignoring those columns. So I'm just going to highlight this text here, and I've set up a style sheet for it. The style paragraph style sheet is called heading A, and if I just double click on this, I can show you what I've done to get it to ignore those columns. You can see it says here span columns, and I'm asking it to span all the columns in that frame. I've done exactly the same with this style as well. So I've clicked on this style here, and it says intro para, and again if I double click on here and go to span columns, you can see I'm choosing to span all. If I click this style here, this is called body A, and body A doesn't span, it's just flowing into single columns here. So that's behaving as you'd expect. This is a different style sheet here. This one is called first body para drop cap, and you can see that it's based on body A. So if I were to change the point size or the typeface or what have you, it would change across both of the styles. So if I change body A, it would also change first body para. And again, this style sheet doesn't span. Okay, so if I change the number of columns in here, this text, the headline text and the first para text here would remain the same. So let's just switch on my guides. Now to switch on my guides, I'm using Command:, and I'm just going to make my picture a different size. So I'm just going to bring that in to 2 column widths, and I'm going to stretch that out, and you can see that the type reflows. And if I just drop this down, if I do it slowly, I can actually see it happen, like so. There we go, and you can see that was super easy to just edit that text in its frames. If I go to this page and try and do that exact same thing, so again I'm going to put my guides on, I'm just going to narrow this image down like so. Now I've got a much bigger task ahead of me. I've got to move this over here. I've got to make it wider. I've got to move this. Well, I don't need to move this. I just need to make it wider, like so. And then I need to make these frames. Now these are linked together, so they are linked. I haven't gone completely nuts. Again, linking frames is vital for otherwise you're going to lose text. So whilst this is bad, it's not as bad as it could be, but getting these to line up again, getting the text to finish in exactly the right place is a bit hit and miss. Okay, that looks about right. Now this needs to come out to the full width, and then I need to move this down. And as soon as I start doing this, the integrity of my design is lost, because I've set this up so I've got a particular amount of space between this paragraph and my body copy and my heading and my first paragraph. And the minute I start doing this, I'm having to do things by eye, and there's going to be differences. Either that, or I'm going to have to be measuring everything, which is tedious and long-winded. So I hope this demonstrates to you just how you can speed up your workflow just by putting your text in single frames as much as you can anyway. It's not always possible. And to demonstrate that, I'm just going to scooch through. Here's another layout using all those same styles, different page layout. So the page looks different, but it still looks like it belongs with the general feel of the document. I've got these items here which are set up on a master page. But when I come down here, this is a different layout for exactly the same location here. And what I've done is I've got this image running top to bottom in the middle of my page, which has divided my text. So I've put it in two separate text boxes, which is absolutely fine. There is another way of doing it as well, but this is just to demonstrate how we can switch and still use multiple text boxes and switch round when it suits. So let's decide to move this image over here. I'm just going to put my guides back on so I can see what I'm doing, because I want it to still line up with my grid. I wouldn't actually do this because it's actually obliterated my page number here. And I'm going to move my text frame over here. Now again, this is okay, but I want my text to span across. Well, one, it won't because it's in two separate text boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this frame, and as soon as I delete, we can see this like little red box at the bottom with a little plus. Now that tells me that I've got overset text, so I've got more text than will actually fit in this frame. But if I make my frame wider, the text will automatically flow. It's flowing in one column, so all I need to do is add a second column, like so, and you can see my text is flowing quite nicely. Okay, and let's just hide my guides. There we go. So you can see that's a much easier way of working than putting everything in these individual text frames like this. Okay, so that's just a little hint for you on how to improve your workflow when you're using Adobe InDesign.